Every dancer's journey is uniquely different. Hi everyone, I'm Annika and welcome back to the second episode of Rhythm and Reality, the podcast where we interview dancers about their journeys on the dance floor and through life. Today's interviewee has done dance competitions throughout the country, was a professional dancer for a time, and was even on Star Search. So let's hear Molly's story. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rhythm and Reality. Today we have Molly here. Molly, how are you feeling today?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about your background with dance.
Sure. Yeah, so I started dancing when I was 7 years old. My mom put me in ballet class at a local studio here in Arizona called Spizak's, and danced there for about a year. Then from there, danced at Royal Dance Works for several years. My sister and I, my younger sister, who's 2 years younger than me. So just kind of grew up dancing, eventually got onto the performance competitive team, and we did competitions throughout the state and throughout the country, that did performances, kind of state fair, Phoenix Suns game, that type of thing. So it just led me throughout my high school career. Basically, I did get a chance to do like Spirit Line, the basically cheer and pom in my high school in Valley, so that was fun. Didn't really expect to pursue dance beyond high school, interestingly enough. I ended up going to ASU for a semester, and then from there was kind of not sure what I wanted to pursue, like what my major and things like that. I had talked to my dad into letting me just go to community college for a little bit just to figure it out. And 2 weeks later into being at Glendale Community College, my dance teacher had basically been choreographing for a show in Laughlin, Nevada, and there was a dancer who had gotten hurt, and she said, hey, if you want this job, she had videos and everything of me, so she was able to, I basically didn't have to even audition.
Wow.
It just kind of fell in my lap, and so I went ahead and took that opportunity. That led to a few years dancing professionally, first in Laughlin for about 8 months, and then they opened a show in Las Vegas. It was called the American Superstar Show. It was a family show, and it just different impersonators like Elvis and Madonna and the Blues Brothers and Temptations. It was really fun, really cool experience. Prior to that, basically the 2 years prior to that, we were on Star Search, my sister and I, with a group. So I got to appear on there a few times, and that was a pretty fun experience. And I don't know, I think it just gave me a little bit more, something to add to my resume, I suppose. But again, just never really ended up thinking I was going to pursue it. After a few years dancing professionally, I did stop, partly due to I was going to have knee surgery, not like a major injury, but just it was bothering me, and I didn't want to have surgery. I basically went from there, just transitioned into starting a family, and went for several years. My son, when he was born, he was 4 months old when I auditioned actually for the Phoenix Suns dance team.
Wow.
And so that was kind of a fun experience where the funny thing is I hadn't danced for a little while at that point, and the very next day I did get to make it to the second cut, but I wasn't able to show up for the second round of auditions because I was super sore, like my whole body, I couldn't move. And I just also realized at that time with my son being a baby and just that it wasn't the path that I was gonna pursue. And then fast forward to about when he was in junior high, I actually coached the cheer team for his school. So that was a little bit, that was fun. I had taught dance a little bit when I was in high school, as well as when my two oldest kids were little. And then I think I've been actually teaching now dance pretty much anywhere from ages 18 months, because I did a mommy and me class for a while. up through age like 8, the past goodness, like 7, 8 years now. So that's been a lot of fun. I have subbed some classes for like the older kids, but definitely I'm going to say my specialty is with the little kids. So that's just essentially my dance
Wow.
career. So, yeah.
That is a lot. That
Yeah.
is wow. So it's been taking up like a lot of your life, it sounds like. Like it's just kind
Yeah,
of always been.
yeah, and I have to say, I am going to admit my age. I'm 52, so
Hmm.
I've been around for a while. But so yeah, there was a portion of time where it wasn't really in my life. I feel like it kind of found me again. And then when I've been involved with our children's ministry, really for the last like 15, 16 years at our church, and then helping out with like worship and even like choreographing some of the like worship songs when it's for kids. You got movements involved and everything. So that's been a lot of fun with our kids camps, which are like the VBS, and then just like our weekly weeknight ministry for first through fourth graders. Helping to lead worship there and stuff like that. And I'm not a singer, but I'm doing the motions along with
Uh-huh.
it. I wish I could sing. But yeah, so that's been a lot of fun, and it's just been neat to see how again, dance, I feel like it found me again, and that it wasn't, I don't want to say wasted, but all the time and energy and money that my parents spent on my dance classes or whatever, it's just been just a blessing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like full circle moment. Like it finally
Yes.
comes back to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool. Also, I know you mentioned Star Search. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Like, I don't know if we could maybe like, or if this is something that you would even want to put out there, like what episode you were on, or where people could find you,
Yeah,
or.
I'll have to research and get back to you. I'll
Mhm.
try to find that information on what year. I mean, I know it was around the years of 91, 92. It was my senior year of high school. Trying to think. Yeah. Basically, my senior year of high school, I was on a group. It was 4 girls and 1 guy, and we were called Too Hot to Be Cool.
Ah.
Yeah, and we were actually, yeah, at that point we weren't in the junior category. So my dance teacher at the time, Julie Wren, she owned the studio called Julie's Jazz Pizzazz. She had 4 boys and a babe. Back in the day, they won like their junior dance, basically category, and Star Search. So she had brought a lot of groups onto Star Search, and so anyway, we were one of them. I'm going to say we won 1 or 2 shows, maybe lost the third one, but it was just a cool experience. And then the following year, so at that point I was a freshman in college, and we went back with another group. We were called Good Vibrations.
Oh, nice. I love these
Vibrations.
names.
And I want to say maybe 2 of us were the same, but the other 2 girls were different. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. And then similar thing. I think we were just on a couple of shows. We didn't go too far in it, but it was just still a fun experience. There was a time after that too, that now that I'm thinking about it, that she had a group of us come out to LA to Universal Studios, and we were asked to film like a pilot for like a television series. It was going to be a little bit like back in the day there was a show called In Living Color. It was going to be sort of like that, but like for kids. And so I know we had like rehearsed, and we were out there for a few days, and that was kind of a cool experience. Needless to say, the show didn't get picked up or anything, but it was just kind of a fun little taste of like, oh, what it's like to be, I don't know, there in Hollywood and stuff. But it's interesting, through all that, I don't know if it was a confidence thing, or maybe just God wasn't leading me to pursue anything like a professional career at that time. And again, it ended up taking me in a different direction. But it was a lot of fun. I think she had to basically, we had to practice our dances she had to record them, send them in, and then once we were accepted, basically able to be on a show, then we came in, and it was like we had to have about 4 dances prepared, and so they film it. They filmed the dress rehearsal basically, which I think is what they would do if they needed to edit. It was almost like it wasn't in front of the audience, but we just danced like we normally would. And then later in the evening would be the actual, I guess not necessarily live, but in front of a live audience and where the judges were and stuff. So yeah, it was definitely a cool experience to be part of that. And then it's just funny nowadays because I think I heard that maybe Star Search is coming back, but for a while, I mean, unless you were over a certain age, you had no idea what Star Search was.
Yeah.
The first reality shows, maybe. I don't know.
I just saw it, like, I think it was a commercial for Star Search. I don't remember what it was. It was like a couple weeks ago. And I was like, what is this show? And I was like, apparently they made like Britney Spears or like Elvis or whoever. And I was like, what is this show? I've never heard of this before. And my mom's next to me. She goes, that's Star Search. It used to be this huge show. And she's telling me all about it. And then she tells me that you were on it. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it's so funny. Well, it is wild to look back and see how many actual like celebrities like Britney Spears and like comedians, actors, like there's a bunch of people, mostly singers, but like that got their start basically on Star Search. So that was kind of a cool thing that there was like a launching pad. But yeah, it's funny because my sister, at the time we had them on VHS tapes. Like when the episode aired months later, we would just have to record it. We have like all the old commercials and stuff. And, you know, again, back in 90, 91, 92, and I think she put it on a DVD, so I have to find those and figure out how to put it on digitally because there's so many people that want to see it, and so yeah, it's just kind of funny. So I'll try to find out what episode and stuff, and if there's a way to find that.
Yeah, no worries if you can't at all, or if you don't want to like put that information out there. I don't blame you at all, but it's
a little bit embarrassing now. It's all good.
That's so cool though, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you had when you've had just big performances in general like that you would get very nervous?
Yeah, I definitely remember experience like the butterflies and things. The other thing too that I now remembering too is like my mom, I was a very shy kid. I think dance helped me kind of come out of my shell. And then she did actually put me in some pageants, like the Cinderella pageant and stuff. So I remember doing the pageants, and then there you would do like a solo dance. And so I would compete solos and things like that, but I think that was where I felt the most pressure, like you're the only one on stage. And but I got, pretty used to it. And I do remember one time that I was basically I won the Cinderella Miss that year, and we'd go around the different cities in Arizona, and so it was more of a performance. I wasn't competing at that point, but I had done this dance. I knew it like the back of my hand. Like I didn't have to think about it. I just did it so naturally, like muscle memory. And I remember I was out there for like a minute, and my mind just completely went blank, and I ran off the stage because I was like, whoa, that was that didn't happen to me very often or at all. It was just such a weird feeling of like, I've done this dance so many times, and I think maybe I was thinking about something else. I don't even know. Such a weird experience. I'm sure I probably like cried. I think I was 12 or 13 at the time, and just felt so like embarrassed or whatever. It was such a weird thing. But I do remember that just, and again, it wasn't that I wasn't prepared, but just really focusing on, okay, just think about your performance, don't think about other things, and then just being prepared. Like, so I think anytime that I didn't feel like I practiced enough or, wasn't ready, then that's where the butterflies and the nerves would really kind of like take over. But yeah, once you felt like, okay, I'm ready to just go out there, like I know what I'm doing. So I've gone through different stages and emotions and of things like that. Definitely, I think competing in the pageants was a lot more pressure, and again, maybe just because it's like all eyes on you. So I probably enjoyed being on stage with a group of people a little bit more. And then the other funny thing, well, I don't know if it's funny, but just that I am like, I think the least competitive person that I know. So
Really?
that was also, so yeah, it's funny how, like even playing games, like I love playing games, but I'm not the person that's like, oh my gosh, I have to win.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that I don't know if that had a play in, me wanting to pursue dance further. I mean, it's definitely a competitive business and things like that, but yeah, just not the way it worked out. But yeah, not that I have any regrets, but it's like I do look back and think, okay, there are things that I could have been more intentional about or done differently or taken better care of myself, better care of my health and things of that nature. But no, for the most part, it's yeah, I don't know. It's all been a lot of fun and great experiences with dance.
That's awesome. Do you find that like when you were to get those nerves or like you had those moments, I know you're saying like there's like been different seasons of it depends on like how much you've practiced and things like that, or like different emotions and things like that. How have you managed that, and how have you managed that stress or that anxiousness like going out in front of people? Because I know there's a lot of dancers that kind of struggle with that, like when they do go out in front of a crowd, it's like, how do I deal with this?
Right. So interestingly, I'm gonna say like back when I was competing and dancing as a kid, I mean, I didn't become a Christian until I was gosh, how old I was, like 27 or whatever. So prior to all that, I didn't have the part of like, okay, having faith and being able to pray about it and things that I would do now. Like, even when we do, I've performed a little bit at some of our like women's ministry events and things like that. And you get a little bit of nerves, but I just know like as long as I prepare and then I can pray about it and things like that. So that's just a whole different angle and look at it, because back then, before I became a Christian, I didn't really have that. And so I know a lot of it was just trying to like not overthink, I did have a tendency to like, what's worst case scenario? And so I had to just be intentional about like focusing on what I can do, doing my best, and not worrying about like what could go wrong or what if this happens, what if that happens. So again, like my sort of worst case scenario was like that time when I blanked out and forgot my dance.
Oh, yes.
But I think it's interesting because it all depends. I think the amount of work that you put in beforehand, the stuff that people don't see, that's really what helps you become successful. And then dancing in the shows that I was in, it became repetitive, where, I mean, again, it got to the point where it's like, okay, I know this so well, I'm not having to like stress about it, and it gets to the point where it just becomes like more fun and enjoyable because I'm not stressed, like this is just coming so naturally. But every so often things would get changed, and I think that helps keep your mind going. Like if there was like a different act that was coming in, or we learned a new number or did a few changes or whatever, then it's like, okay, it's kind of a good thing, because you don't just get in like a rut of like, hey, you're just doing the same thing. But it is fun to go. I think the last Vegas show that I watched was the Michael Jackson one, and it's just really cool to see, I don't know, those performers and stuff, and just kind of know what that was like to dance in those shows and stuff. And so yeah, it's just I don't know if I even answered the question.
No, you're good. Honestly, like this is the time to just like yap and just
I just kind of ramble.
No. Like all the wisdom and everything we can get. Like that was thank you. I appreciate it. Going along with that too. Do you think there was a specific moment where you realized you had grown and you were able to like be more confident and like, oh, I can just like, I know what to do? Or was it more of a gradual process for you?
Probably a gradual process. And I do feel like for instance, I took a year off when I was a freshman. And again, I think I took dance like in high school, like dance class in high school. So I wasn't like not dancing, but also just took a year off of like being at a studio and competing and all that stuff. And then it was interesting because the following year, I had a friend who danced at Julie's Jazz Pizzazz, like I said, and they, I don't want to say recruited me, but basically she's like, oh, you should come dance here, whatever. So I did, and then that's when she was looking to put together a group for Star Search. So it kind of stemmed from that, and I felt a lot of growth there. I mean, I think it was a lot more of a competitive studio than our other one was, and so and then even just the competitiveness of being on Star Search. And I'm sure it's like I don't remember being like super nervous, but I feel like that definitely was also like a high pressure, like, oh my goodness, like you're on TV, like this is the real deal, like this is bigger than anything we've done before. But I think, I mean, the amount of practices that we would have, and just like, I mean, blood, sweat, and tears, like just, it was a lot of hard work, but it paid off in the sense that we felt prepared when we hit the stage. So, I remember too, one of my first rehearsals, learning one of the first dances, and that weekend, I think we practiced 8 hours a day, like Saturday and Sunday. So like 16 hours of dance. And I think I actually ended up having the flu. Like I was sick on top of, but we were like in a crunch time, and it was either I quit or I do it and stuff. I did remember sitting quite a bit, but like I had to like push through and stuff. So that was really tough, but I got through it, and then it just made me stronger. So a little bit of the, the perseverance, and it's definitely like, okay, when it's hard, it's actually growing you, and yeah, just putting in all this, it's just all the behind the scenes. And I remember the first time I had friends from school come to like a recital and watch me dance, and they were just like, oh my goodness, I didn't know you could do all that. It was just funny. This was probably prior to high school, because in high school we would have, dance performances and stuff, but it was just funny, because it's like, yeah, this is what I feel like. It kept me out of probably a lot of trouble. I mean, I was just, if I wasn't at school, I was at dance, and it just I don't know, it was easy to kind of dedicate my time and my life to that at the time.
Do you feel like it was a bit of a hidden talent from some of your friends, or some of your friends just didn't realize you danced, and then all of a sudden that's why they're like, oh my gosh, like they're so surprised?
Probably, especially like in grade school and junior high and stuff, because maybe they knew that I'd go to dance class, but yeah, until they actually saw me dance, they were like, whoa, it's just like an eye-opening thing, where like, oh, I had no idea. It's different, like you do still feel like an athlete, because, in fact, I remember thinking like, oh man, for so much of my life, I never had to worry about or think about like working out, because what I did, or even eventually what I did for a living, was a workout in itself. And then later, when I wasn't dancing anymore, I was like, oh, I need to actually like exercise.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, but just like, for instance, like at school, like sports and things like that, people usually know like, oh, you play volleyball or whatever the sport is and stuff. And so, yeah, until they experience it. But, and then in high school, we'd have our, I was part of our dance program as well. And I feel really lucky that I was able to, again, do dance at a studio. I was able to do dance at school, like the dance program, as well as do Spirit Line. And I know there was a period of time, I don't know the status of all studios, but when my youngest daughter, she just graduated last May, and she danced competitively, and we were really lucky because the studio that she started out with, once girls, or I should say students, dancers hit a certain age, they kind of had to choose. It was like the rehearsal schedule didn't really allow them to do both, like dance at school or pom or anything like that at school and studio dance. But then the studio that took over, where I'm teaching now, it's hard for them, but they really work around the kids' schedule. There's several of them that are doing pom, and I kind of see how that benefits both sides. It benefits the pom program as well as the studio program, because they're getting like so much dance and so much training, and so she was able to essentially do both. And again, I just remember a time when there were kids that they had to choose, they had to do one or the other, and so I was thankful that I didn't have to miss out on any of those experiences either. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool hearing about like your daughter doing dance after you. Like it seems like she maybe took some inspiration from you a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's just really cool to hear.
Yeah.
Also,
So my older daughter, Alyssa, so I was a single mom for a little while before I had my youngest, and so I was working full time, and I think she was 4, and she was in preschool, and they did have like an after school, like once a week, Twinkle Toes or something. So she was able to do that. That was her first like dance experience, and there was like a little recital and things like that. But I didn't have the capacity to like take her to a studio with my work schedule and everything. So she did that, and then once Caitlin came along, and Caitlin was 3, and then Alyssa was already 12 by the time we actually made it to a studio, and so Alyssa, she did good. They both eventually, a couple years into it, got onto the performance company. So we had fun doing that for a couple of years, and Alyssa got to experience it. She felt like she did start later. Now, granted, I've known a lot of dancers that did get a later start, and it just depends on how much they pursue it. They can, it doesn't really mean anything, but for Alyssa, she ended up getting quite a few injuries and dealing with some illness, and so her dance career didn't go as far as she would have liked, but Caitlin was younger at the time, and she just went all in, and it was one of those things where I remember she wanted to audition for the competitive team, and I was like, well, we can audition, but I don't know, and when she made it, it was one of those things where it's like, oh boy, because I just knew growing up like how much of a time commitment and how much, there's just all the things. And my stepsons, prior to this, had both played, Little League Baseball and basketball and all these sports, which we were already always there for. And so luckily they were older by the time the girls were doing dance. So it was like, I know so many families where they kind of have to split, divide and conquer, where like, it's the boys for the sports, the mom takes the girls for the dance, and so I know that's a little tough, and that's kind of how our family was. My dad would take the boys for their sporting events, and my mom would take my sister and I to all the dance stuff. So, I felt fortunate with my own kiddos that we were able to kind of, okay, the boys did their things, and now the girls that were younger, like my husband became a good dance dad. Moving house and all the things.
That's so fun.
We had the capacity to do that, which, again, I know other families, that's kind of hard to do. They're juggling a lot.
No, absolutely. Just reminds me of, because I did a little bit of ballet growing up, and that wasn't nearly like, when you're talking about like a 16-hour commitment, I'm like, that didn't even touch that. But just like remembering going to practice like several days a week, and my dad driving me, and I went to Ballet Etudes, which was pretty far from my house, probably like 45 minutes. So like several times a week, my dad driving me up, and just like the commitment. So like I have a new respect for you parents who drive their kids to dance class, because it's no small commitment. So yeah. And getting through those 16-hour practices too back in the day. Wow. Crazy. But do you think, I know you talked about a little bit how like your faith is central to you, and like you're a mom now, and I'm sure that's part of your identity. But how do you think like growing up that changed like with dance? Do you think that affected it at all or was kind of a part of it?
Um, yeah, so I mean, definitely I've always, well, growing up and even as a young adult, like up until I maybe stopped dancing, I always consider, like I'm a dancer. And then even now, I still consider myself like a dancer.
Uh-huh.
It's like it never like really leaves you, I guess. And then it's funny when we go to weddings or a concert or something. I mean, I'm always so excited about the dancing. Like that's
Mm,
the biggest thing.
yes.
And my family knows, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna dance.
She's gonna
So
be on the dance floor.
yes, yes. And so it's, yeah. But growing up, I mean, we were the type of family. My mom grew up in the Philippines and her grew up Catholic. And I think when my parents got married, not that they didn't agree, but we were basically Christmas and Easter, like that's when we would go to church for the big holidays and things like that. And so, I mean, I remember being at my grandparents' house, and it's not like they would ever bring us to church unless it was Christmas or Easter, but I remember on Sundays, my grandparents like playing like Christian, like hymns, like Christian music or whatever, like yeah, again, the Amazing Grace and things like that.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, it just never was really a part of our family growing up. And my parents did get divorced when I was 16. And so, I don't know, there's just, it's one of those things where I just am so thankful now that our kids have that faith from such a young age. Like it's like, oh man, if only I had, if only I
Yeah,
had this with me back then, and
absolutely.
that kind of thing. So it's definitely shaped, who I am today, but I also can see like how God's had His hand on my life like the whole time, even if I didn't
Yeah.
really know Him or know it. At the time, I look back and like, okay, all the times that like either things could have been worse or He saved me from certain things, and so yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, just being able to express myself through dance at an early age, and again, like I said, I was pretty shy as a kid, so it's definitely through the years helped me come out of my shell. And doing the pageants, the hardest part for me in the pageants wasn't the dance part or the talent portion, or some people would sing, some would play piano, different things, but
Mhm.
for me it was speaking on stage. And so it's funny because just working in children's ministry, like teaching a class, I kind of built my confidence there. And then I just remember a time when I had to kind of speak in front of like the parents maybe, and that was like a whole other ball game. I was like, oh, it's one thing
Mhm.
when your audience is like younger or whatever, but I've just I don't know, God's kind of grown me in that. And not to say that I could speak in a room full of people, but I kind of do here and there at church for different like events, not as a preacher or anything, but just
Mhm.
maybe introduction, or I feel a little more comfortable doing that. I don't really have this great fear of public speaking, more so just like, okay, as long as I'm prepared enough to know what I'm gonna say or what
Yeah,
I have to say.
for sure.
So I think definitely with anything, whether it's dance or public speaking or anything that you go into, like when the opportunity presents itself, if you are prepared, if you put in the work, sort of behind the scenes, the things that people don't see, then it just makes things, I don't know, it feels like, okay, God's prepared me for such a time as this.
Yes. Like it's not only in my control.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad we got to touch on faith a little bit and I'm glad you kind of like brought it into the conversation too, because, like personally, I have faith as well, and I'm a Christian, but I don't want to and I know some of my guests are too, but I don't want to like make them talk about that if they don't want to. But I'm glad you kind of brought that up. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's such a huge part of my life now, and it was one of those things where even when you first asked me to do it, I was kind of like, okay, I need to focus on the dance aspect and not how like, okay, this is how God weaved things throughout my life or whatever, but because I actually went back to school at Grand Canyon University when my son and daughter were little, my two oldest, and again, I was a single mom at the time. I was living with my mom, and I was working, but wanted to go back to school. I was able to take a couple classes at night, and interestingly, still ended up not finishing. I remember all my days off, I was just having to do homework and not spending a lot of time with my kiddos. And I felt like, okay, while they're young, like they're not going to be this young forever. And I remember thinking, okay, when they go to school, then I'll go back to school. But the interesting thing is that it was at Grand Canyon that I met a close friend, and it was through her that I ended up getting a job leasing apartments for several years. I ended up becoming like an assistant manager and things like that. But it was at her wedding that I met my now husband.
Wow.
And so it's just kind of cool how it's just, again, God works things out, and not that that has anything to do with dance, but just but yeah, so and I had always wanted to be a teacher. I was going to go back to school to be a teacher. But I am actually, like, I teach Sunday school and I teach dance, and so it's like in a different way. So, but I think, had I gone back and even pursued like dance, I mean, that's definitely seems like something, had these other opportunities not steered me in a different direction, I could see that would have been a good passion to follow. It was interesting because back then, I feel like, for instance, the dance program maybe at ASU was, it was definitely, I had never experienced like the modern dance or the contemporary dance. And again, this was so many years ago that now there's just so many genres of dance that are available. And so it was just it seemed a little foreign to me, if that makes any sense, the college dance world, as opposed to now, it's evolved and everything. So yeah, and it probably would have been good for me to step out of my comfort zone and do something different. So I'm not opposed anymore to even, doing things that are different. In fact, I feel like God's been maybe kind of putting on my heart about starting a dance ministry. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I'm still kind of exploring it and just feeling like, okay, God, is this really you? Like what? So yeah, it's just a new goal. And I think back when I was younger, I wasn't like a planner. I wasn't looking ahead of my future. So maybe that's why I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so it was just kind of things just happen, and I went to go with the flow. But yeah, as I've become a mom and, just raising our family and learning how to plan ahead and be prepared and just setting goals and things like that. So yeah, so we'll see. I just feel like, okay, your dance career isn't necessarily ever over.
Yes.
So,
oh, that's so cool. What would that look like, starting a dance ministry right now?
I'm not sure, because I need to put in some work to like research like what other dance ministries are about. I know, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, one of the owners, it's two sisters and their husbands that own our studio now, and I think the one husband, he kind of got started in dance through a dance ministry in California. So I was going to interview him and kind of like pick his brain a little bit and be like, yeah, what did that look like and stuff. But so again, I'm not really sure. I know when I was helping to lead, like for instance, on Sundays we have a group of kiddos, like essentially 7th grade through through 12th grade, that would help lead the worship as well for the younger kids. And so there was a period of time where I would hold the rehearsals for that during the week, and so that was a lot of fun. And any time that I got to teach them a few like little dance moves or whatever, like beyond just the normal like Jesus loves me like motions, they really loved it and everything. And so I just thought, oh, that'd be kind of a fun, that maybe that's kind of where the seed was planted a little bit. But I just, again, not sure. I think about like, oh, the kids that would love to take dance but maybe can't afford it or do it or whatever. But also just even thinking about when my daughter was deeply in the competitive dance world, and just the the comparison, and again, that world can be pretty scary. It can take you off on the wrong path, and not to say that people go off the wrong way, but I just feel like, okay, you know, just to know that, okay, God loves them, and they are, you know, they don't have to prove themselves. Like their identity doesn't have to be in like how good they are as dancers or anything like that. It's, you know, it's just, I don't know. I just feel like there's just something, even emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you know, that would be nice to, yeah, just kind of bring those, my two passions,
Yes.
faith together. And so, yeah, that's kind of where that came from. So we'll see how,
That's
we'll
so
see
cool.
what God has in store.
Wow, that is amazing. And what like an inspiring message too. Like this doesn't have to be who you are. It can just be like something you enjoy. Like it doesn't have to be yeah, that's really encouraging. Honestly, just also listening to you talk, I'm looking at my questions here and I'm like, she's answering all of these questions. So this is kind of perfect because I feel like you touched on everything that I was going to bring up anyways.
Okay. Yeah,
But let me see if there's any left.
for sure, for sure.
Let's see. Does dance look like in your life now? Do you ever find yourself like, because I mean, this is something that I just do personally, but do you ever find yourself like dancing around the house when nobody else is there?
I mean, it's funny because yes, when I hear music, like I will, like I definitely like just almost naturally dance to it. In fact, my sister's funny because I remember we were probably in our 20s, and I remember being at the store with her, like at the mall or something, and she, you know, a song would come on. Sorry, there was an ad.
Oh, you're
I
good.
remember just being at the mall with her, and then she would just bust out in like some dance moves or whatever, and I'm just
In the mall?
it was, yeah, and it was just funny.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I probably do. I mean, a lot of music that I listen to at home, especially if I'm on my alone, whatever, is worship music. But yeah, there's I mean, we just went to the Toby Mac concert the other night, and that was so fun. And he's
Fun.
got a lot of like good music that you like, worship music, but you can dance to. So so yeah, that I definitely do. Yeah, I can dance anywhere basically.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's always just gonna be something that like just follows me throughout life. Like that's just always like you mentioned, it's kind of just always like a small part of you.
Yeah. And I feel like it's good for your mental health, like just moving your body. Like it's my most favorite form of like exercise, if you can call it that, depending the, you know, the
Yes.
extent or whatever intensity of the dance that you're doing. But even like, again, even at a wedding, if we're out there dancing for several songs, like man, it's a good workout. You start
No, yeah. It seriously is. And people take it for granted. Like when you think of working out, you think of like lifting weights, running, even like playing a sport, but then people don't really consider that like dance is hard work. Like even just yeah, for a couple hours it would be hard work. But
Yeah.
if you're like on a team or doing something like that's a whole nother level of like commitment
Right.
and just yeah, definitely a workout for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I was thinking too about how, like, again, not me intentionally trying to pursue dance, but I mean, I've had friends who basically, well, like I had a couple of friends who ended up working like on a cruise ship for like the shows and stuff there, and then later came back and one became a school teacher, and then I've had friends that opened up dance studios and things like that. So I mean, there's so many different avenues, not even just those two things that I feel like dance can bring you, and yeah, I don't know. But there's definitely something to be said about like just movement in general. I mean, you have to look up the study or whatever, but like how, like I even experienced a lot of the dancers that I danced with like would have really good grades, and you know, it, not to say that we're smarter, but like there's just something that it does physiologically for your body and your brain, and so yeah, there's so many more benefits. When I teach class to my little ones, I do a lot of focus, especially my like 3, 4, and 5-year-olds that are like learning their right and left, and just being spatially aware, and like watch out for your friends, and and
Yes.
and then just also there's just certain things like whether it's socially or just about taking turns and putting others first, and there's just these little things that are intertwined, and just even taking a dance class, and then just learning to all be friends and learning to love each other, and it's really neat to see just how these little ones shine. And then I've had so many that not all of them, but several that have gone on to stick with it and are now like competing and things like that. So
Wow.
it's cool to see how, man, my only goal when they start out, I usually get them at their first dance classes or in the beginning, that, is that they love dance, that they're having fun. And I set my bar pretty low. As long as we don't have any potty accidents and no crying, then it's a successful class.
Yes.
But I just, it's like, it's just such a joyful thing to do. And so it's really neat to see kids kind of learn to love it and pursue it even further and stuff. And not to say everyone has to. It's not their, some are like, oh, we're going to play sports now. And, it's, again, but it's nice that I was a little part of their, dance journey, or just their journey in general. So
That's so cool.
yeah.
I feel like that like kind of goes into the teaching aspect a little bit. Like I feel like I can definitely tell that just based off of like all of your teaching like experience with just like everything, I can definitely tell that your heart is kind of like geared towards like teaching and like
Yeah.
growing others too, which is really cool.
Yeah, I ended up learning that I have a gift a little bit for teaching, and so that's just been neat that I've been able to do it. Not to say that I do remember, I think I was probably in high school that I thought, oh, like I would love to be like a kindergarten teacher, but I at the time just couldn't imagine going to school and then just doing that for the rest of my life, interestingly
Yeah.
enough. But so again, it found me, my gift kind of found me and like led me in a different path, and so but no, I love it. I do adore kids, and so it's just been such a huge blessing that I've been able to do this, like to not only teach them, but to experience my daughter doing it. That's been a joy to watch her do that, and not that I, felt like I had to live vicariously through her. It was basically, hey, as long as you're enjoying this, like there was never pressure of, and to touch a little bit, she did end up pursuing a little bit. She ended up having an agent in California when she was around 10 years old. We did a few auditions. She did get a small part in a little movie like on Amazon, but so she had a little taste of that as well. And then again, my mama heart was like, okay, if she would have wanted to like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, and pursue even the acting stuff a little more, we probably would have helped facilitate that, but it just wasn't necessarily something she wanted to do. So yeah, it was just always like, hey, there's this opportunity, you want to take it, or how much effort do you want to put into, doing this and stuff. So just been fun to kind of come alongside her. Again, not trying to like live vicariously through her, but it's just it's just been fun to see that continue.
I just like see a little bit of like, oh, like this was how I felt about dance, and like now
Yeah.
she feels
Yeah.
this way about it too. That's so cool. I know we talked a little bit about too, like how identity plays into it, and it's not like your full identity. But do you think that dance also reveals who somebody truly is? Like, do you think you can see that and that's visible through dance sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, like there's like it definitely reveals something about you, and just the fact that you're willing to like put yourself out there. I mean, ultimately, yeah, people can take just recreational dance. They don't ever have to do a performance or a recital or things like that. But even as little kids, I think a lot of them usually are like, oh, they want to dance for their family at home or whatever. So there's that aspect of like a performance side of it. And so I just feel like yeah, there's something to be said about like the ones who can get up there, and I've talked to friends who are not dancers, and they're like, I don't know how you do it or whatever. And again, I just feel like it was just something, it's just, it is not just a gift, but like, kind of ingrained in you. So yeah, just the fact that you can get up on stage and just express yourself, or just be willing to be open and just let go and not be too afraid. I mean, really, you have to. I mean, I did go for a long time being people pleasing and so worried about what other people are thinking. And it's interesting because you get up there, and especially in the competitive world, you're judged, for every little move. And so that's kind of an interesting dynamic. And I feel like a little bit of maybe that's how I was looking into like, okay, the dance ministry, and like, okay, you gotta look at big picture and be like, okay, just because when you do your performance you're judged on certain things doesn't mean like you're judged as a human being, but you are opening yourself up to that, but also just not letting that, I don't know, it can be a scary thing. So you have
it's kind of a fine line.
Be confident in yourself just as a human being. And not just in dance. Like if I think for a while my confidence was only just in my dancing ability. And then when I had to like speak on stage, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not confident in me speaking, or just having conversations with random strangers and things like that. So it's like, I don't know, it's just interesting how you can definitely have your identity wrapped up, as a dancer, but just knowing that you are so much more than that. That's just a part of your life. That's just a part of, just as different people have different gifts, and if you are able to use that gift well and to bless other people with it, and just see what God does with it, is just a really cool thing. So yeah.
Yes, that's so cool. Wow. Sorry, I want to respect your time. I know we've gone a little bit over 30 minutes, but but I'm glad that you're able to like give so much wisdom. And honestly, this is like really insightful for me too, because I'm kind of just like in the midst of like college, and just like, I mean, I also share a passion for dance, and just considering like, hey, is this something I want to take into my career? So this is all really like, it gives me like a lot of insight, if you know what I mean. So
Sure.
I really appreciate it. Last question I'm going to ask, is there a performance or a trick that you're most proud of?
Oh man, okay. As far as tricks, I wasn't one who was very flexible growing up. I never really, I mean, I took maybe a tumbling class, like I can do a cartwheel, but I wasn't one that could do like flips or aerials or things like that. So I wasn't a big trick person. I think I probably was at the time proud of myself when I was finally able to get the splits and finally able to like kick up to here. Again, that was so long ago. It's hard to, but I mean, I feel like, I guess I am proud of like the work we did on Star Search, even though when I look back, if I were to look back now, I'd be like, oh, that, the dancing, you don't want to compare like what they do nowadays to like,
That's fair.
but just the fact that I was able to experience that, and to me, I just feel like, oh, these were opportunities that were given to me, that, I was in the right place at the right time, kind of thing. Like, I don't look at how much I like that it was all my own effort. Like, it was just a small portion was my effort, but like, but even doing maybe the pageants and things like that, like, I feel like, oh, looking back, like, wow, I did a lot that if I don't know, I just feel it all being a blessing that I was able to do that. But yeah, I can't think of one performance maybe that really stands out to me. I don't know, maybe just because I'm old and I have so many years behind me, I'm like, oh, I don't know.
You're totally okay. If you're proud of them all, you're proud of them all. Like, that's very valid.
Yeah. My only unproud moment was when I forgot my dance and ran off stage.
No.
But it was a learning lesson.
Yes. Oh, that's so scary. Especially when you're like at a young age and like you don't know like what to do in those instances. That would be really scary.
Yes.
So I understand that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for just again giving some wisdom and insight and just like sharing your experience too. I just love listening and hearing about it, and taking the time out of your day to be on the podcast. So
I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
yeah, of course.